How does a kid with no money and no connections go on to partner up with Steven Spielberg's business partner and list his mansion in Bel Air for $10.9 million without knowing the neighborhood or having any connections in that area and really having no advantage? How does that happen? I'm going to share with you how. In my 5 keys for success, I'm going to show you proof and a case study of how I did it. And I believe this is going to shape your mind to become more successful in business and in real estate if you really just kind of take a step outside of your own body and look at what's true. And this is what really helped me early on, was being self-aware. And this is step 1. Step 1 is being aware of your own weaknesses. A lot of people want to think that they're great at a bunch of different things, but it's just not possible. The old saying is true: a man of many things is a master of nothing. So focus on what you're good at, but be aware where you fall short. And for me, where I fell short was I did not have connections. I didn't have an advantage over other agents. And at the end of the day, business is a competition. So if you don't have an advantage, then you are most likely going to lose. And that's where I realized my biggest weakness was. Didn't have the connections, didn't have the track record, and did not have really just the overall, I wasn't polished. I wasn't from that neighborhood. So that really kind of took me back a little bit. But what I did have was just fearlessness. I was so aggressive, so ambitious. And what I would do is I would call agents that sold big properties, because my goal was to list the $5 million to $10 million properties, because the commissions are 6 figures. I just needed one of those, and I can get out of that fight or flight survival mode and really kind of take a step back, use that money to invest in my business and just overall invest, so I wouldn't have to live in that just fearful mentality. So that was my goal. I wanted to get those big deals. This is how I did it. Called them, and I would say, hey, if I found you a deal, would you co-list it with me? And some would agree. One lady especially agreed, and this is the ultimately the net result of this deal, this $10.9 million listing. And what happened was she sold a property on Bel Air Road, and I called her and said, congratulations, that's just amazing. If I find you a client in the neighborhood, would you split the listing? We'll split the marketing cost, we'll split everything, but most importantly, we'll split the commission. And she agreed. So then what I did was I went ahead, called my title rep, and asked him to give me a list of all of the properties on that street, the homeowners' names. So what happened is a lot of them were really high profile and you couldn't get them on the phone, but a lot of them had Facebook. And one person specifically is the person that I'm talking about. His name is Gary Levinson, and he's the one that partnered up with Steven Spielberg and did that Saving Private Ryan film that did extremely well. And I contacted him on Facebook, and I'm going to show you that message right now. This is 2011. 2011. Nobody was contacting someone on Facebook back then for this type of, this type of business. People just started doing this maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years ago. 2011. This is just didn't happen. So I'm going to show you this right now.
May 12th, 2011, so 9 years ago. And it reads, Gary, I realize contacting you through Facebook is unorthodox. My partner just sold 1518 Bel Air Road for $13.5 million. Transaction closed last Monday. Would you consider selling your residence for the right price? Funny enough, that grammatically this could be a lot better. But ultimately what ended up happening was, because of this message, I received a call from his business manager. That business manager then arranged an appointment which had me and maybe 8 other people in the room, and this resulted in us securing that listing. So just absolutely incredible, and you never know where business will come from. But this is just a token of being aware of your own strengths and your own weaknesses, and me leveraging someone else's talent resulted in this panning out the way it did. So step 1 is being aware of your own strengths and your own weaknesses. Step 2 is leveraging strengths in others to make up for your shortcomings. If you notice the way that I spell out this message, I say my partner, and when I spoke to her about her recent sale for $13.5 million. I asked if we could partner up. So me messaging him, it puts me in a position of authority because my partner sold that property. So he already assumes that I'm at that type of level. So then he's more susceptible to having a conversation with me about his property. And that's ultimately when that ended up happening. We received a phone call from his business manager. That business manager then set up a meeting with about 9 people. In that meeting, I was very quiet. I said nothing. I shook everyone's hand and I just sat there and listened because I realized that anything that I would say would incriminate me. It would incriminate me and it would expose how little I knew about that specific property or properties at that level, at that $10-20 million level. So I let the agent do the selling. She sold the property and got that listing secured that day. We signed the listing. It was picked up by the LA Times, I believe, Huffington Post picked it up. I'm going to show you that right now. And Wall Street Journal picked it up. A lot of people picked it up. But what ended up happening because of that one listing was now I was credible. I had a high-end listing, an 8-figure listing, and I was then able to take that listing and use it as leverage to secure other high-end listings. I then called other agents and spread out my risk because in the event that it didn't work out with a specific agent or we had a falling out, I wouldn't lose all those clients. I started working with other agents. And then after I listed a bunch of property, then I ended up just doing my own listings and then investing, which is so important. And it really will separate you from everyone else. So just going through it again. Step 1, becoming aware of your own strengths and your own weaknesses. Step 2 is leverage knowledge in others. Step 3 is use the knowledge to gain credibility. Step 4 is use credibility and knowledge to better position yourself financially. And that's ultimately what I ended up doing.
And so this is why I am the way that I am in terms of business, is I'm always looking to get around people that are at this level. So I want to learn, I want to expedite my growth, I want to make smart decisions, I want to do decisions that ultimately are going to benefit my offspring 50 years from now. So what I do today needs to benefit my offspring 50 years from now. And I thought like that when I was young. I mean, at that point in time, I think I was 23 years old when I listed that property. So a young 23-year-old kid listing a nearly $11 million property coming from New Jersey with no connections. So you could see where my mind's at. And now I think 20 times bigger than that. So the reason that I'm thinking at that level is because of the people around me. I'm constantly fighting for more knowledge and education. And if you're at this place, if you're at the place where you want to get to the next level in 2020, whether it's investing, business, real estate, whatever it is, I highly suggest you invest in your education. It'll be the best money that you ever spend. I offer a mentorship program. If you're focused more on the investing side, you want to get a really great rental property in 2020, because I think that ultimately we're going to be stepping into a recession the next few months. It's just incredible. I do FaceTime lives every single week. We have a Facebook community where you can network and mingle with everyone else inside the group. We're posting deals daily, reviewing deals daily. Comes with 16 videos, and I upload 2 new videos every single week to the group. Just incredible. It's less than $100 to try it. I highly suggest it if you're in that space. Step 5, make yourself invisible to the economy, to whatever could possibly happen. If we've all learned something through what we've all just went through over the last month or so, is we don't want to be reliant on a job or a check coming next week or next month. We all want to have that financial security. And one thing I learned coming from a broken home when I was young was that I never wanted to put myself in that position to where I was vulnerable. And if someone didn't do what I wanted them to do, ultimately I wouldn't have food on the table. Meaning if a client decided to go with another agent, or this person didn't buy, or I got fired, or this happened or that happened, I wouldn't be affected by it. And me investing in me making smart decisions when I was young put me in a great position. For example, right now I'm in New Jersey on this lockdown with my family, and just last year I took my sister to Barcelona, London, Amsterdam. We went to Venice and Italy. We went all over, and I wouldn't have all of these options if I was foolish with money or naive about my own abilities when I was young. I saw my weaknesses and I saw the journey and the path I needed to take to realize success. And that's what I always wish for you, is see what your journey is and really just kind of execute on it. And if I can do anything for you, drop it in the comments, let me know. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.